Academy of Sciences and the Wonsang University of Agriculture. Certificates and prizes were awarded to the presenters of excellent papers at the presentation. Medical workers of the South Hamgyong Provincial People's Hospital of the DPRK brought a worker Ko Kye-hyun by the name in a critical condition back to life and cured him completely in 60-odd days. The worker has third-degree burns on 40% of the body. The medical workers and employees of the hospital and teachers and students of the Hamgyong University of Medicine donated their blood and skin for skin grafting on the patient. Thanks to their warm sincerity, the patient was recovered to his former state and is able to work at his job again. Ko Kye-hyun left hospital on the 11th amid the congratulations of many people. The spokesman for the Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of Korea gave a statement to media Friday concerning the diatribe of the anti-reunification confrontation fanatics in South Korea against the DPRK, which has gone beyond the tolerance limit despite our repeated warnings. The statement said, Yu Sung-up, director of the Security Strategy Institute under the South Korean Intelligence Service, giving a special lecture on the 11th in the so-called Economic Classroom for Unification, a meeting of the assemblymen from the Saenuri Party, released an unpardonable diatribe against the dignity of the supreme leadership and system of the DPRK. His diatribe, unprecedented in its content and viciousness, triggers off bitter resentment of our army and people. It was clearly revealed that abuses against the DPRK recently intensified in South Korea are not attributable to the alleged freedom of expression granted to any individuals, organizations, and media, but an intentional strategic farce invented by the Blue House, Intelligence Service, the Saenuri Party, and other conservatives. His outbursts are no more than the last-ditch effort of the anti-reunification confrontation fanatics to ensure the single-minded unity of the entire army and people around respected Marshal Kim Jong-un, further consolidated to be indestructible through the election of deputies to the Supreme People's Assembly, and impair the image of the DPRK. It is also a ridiculous hysteric feat of the lunatic to cover with a palm the bright rays of the brilliant sun followed by all people. The recent provocation is an open violation of and bitter challenge to the agreement reached at the inter-Korean high-level contact on putting an end to mutual slanders. Inter-Korean relations are important to us. However, we will never tolerate any slanders against the dignity of our supreme leadership and system, which are our life and soul, the statement warned. The Federation of Korean Economic Workers in China issued a statement on March 7th. The statement stressed that the self-defensive rocket launching exercise of the DPRK is a just self-defensive military action to defend the sovereignty, security, and peace of the country with arms. The United States attempts to justify their key resolve and Foal Eagle joint military exercises as defensive and annual ones, but slanders the rocket launching exercise of the DPRK conducted according to regular training plan as provocation. It only shows the shamelessness of the arrogant United States. The South Korean internet newspaper Voice of People on March 11th blogged an article of lawyer Kim Young-min concerning the fabricated spying case, which is now triggering a public criticism. The article said, this time, the suspicion of the spying case that gave shock to the entire people some time ago was proved groundless, and continued, when the case ended in a clumsy detective story, jointly woven with deficient investigation of the intelligence service, irrational indictment of the prosecution, and irresponsible reports of the media, the intelligence service presented enough evidence that it also officially turned out to be a fabrication. It must be borne in mind that if the intelligence service is allowed to make a spy with fabricated evidence, anyone can be declared a spy. According to the same internet newspaper, the People's Strength for Building a New World, the Solidarity for Progress, and other civic and public organizations of South Korea held a press conference at the Gwanghwamun Plaza in Seoul on the 10th and demanded the dissolution of the intelligence service. The South Korean organization People for Peace and Reunification held a press conference on March 7th demanding the cancellation of the basic plan for national defense reform. Speakers at press conference said the Ministry of National Defense presents the basic plan for national defense reform, calling for adoption of an active deterrence strategy for taking preemptive countermeasures when even a sign of a total war is detected on the Korean Peninsula, and for founding different kinds of units such as a submarine command, flying corps, tactical air control corps, flight information corps, and satellite monitoring and controlling corps. They demanded the cancellation of the plan that may invite a total war. The Chinese internet newspaper Liaoning newspaper on the 7th blogged an account of a Korean resident in the United States on a visit to the DPRK under the title, Korea, a Wonderland. The account said, Korea has no tax system, a means of plunder of the working people in capitalist society. The agricultural tax in kind was totally abolished already in 1966, and the law on completely abolishing the tax system enforced in 1974, making Korea the first tax-free country in the world. During my first visit, I was deeply impressed to hear that there is no tax in the DPRK. It is a common sense that anyone who wants to visit the DPRK should know that there is no tax in that country, the account added. Ali Hudu, chairman of the Socialist Party of Benin on the 7th, expressed full support to the press statement of a spokesman for the strategic force of the Korean People's Army. Chairman Ali Hud said, the United States and its followers imprudently talk about provocation and threat concerning the just exercise of the strategic force of the Korean People's Army. It is a real provocation that they are staging the key resolve and full eagle joint military exercises aimed at the DPRK and slandering the DPRK as a country of evil. The entire members of the Socialist Party of Benin strongly demand an immediate end to the key resolve and full eagle joint military exercises, terming them an open attempt to aggravate the situation of the Korean Peninsula to the extreme, pose a great military threat to the DPRK, jeopardize an atmosphere for the improvement of North-South relations and independent reunification of Korea, and ignite a new war.
And that's the end of the news read by Choi Jung-nam and Kim Hyun-oh. This is Voice of Korea. Here is a female trio in Pangchang when the night is advancing on this land. appreciate a female soul in Pangsong, always came together. Appreciate a string quartet, Lights from the Party Central Committee. trio in Pangchang, Embrace of Mother Party, created in 1968 or 1979. Now, Yoon Ju-in Orchestral Music, Bernard Vance, Night of Pyongyang.
Jolin Pangchan. I love Pyongyang.
pretends to be a human rights judge triggers us public indignation. Some time ago, the U.S. Department of State drafted and announced a so-called annual report on the human rights situation of the world. In the report, the United States enumerated the human rights situation in different countries in 2013 and groundlessly slandered them, expressing concern over the serious violation of human rights in those countries. As a matter of fact, concerning the human rights issue, it is the common view of the international community that the United States should be questioned first. Externally, the United States persisting in aggression, war, high-handedness, and arbitrariness, ruthlessly trampled upon the sovereignty of independent states and killed many civilians, and for its large-scale wiretapping was labeled as an international human rights violator. Internally, it is floundering in social evils such as deepening polarization of the rich and the poor, serious racial discrimination, and increase of all kinds of violent crimes, including random firing of small arms. Such a country assumed an air of importance, slandering other countries as if it were a human rights judge, triggering off the strong indignation of the international community. The Information Office of the State Council of China made public the U.S. human rights record in 2013 in defiance of the U.S. anti-Chinese human rights provocation. In the record, China enumerated the serious human rights issues in the United States and denounced the United States as the worst human rights violator in the world and the first target of the strongest denunciation on the earth for its human rights violation. In its human rights report, the U.S. Department of State slandered the Chinese government allegedly for intensifying watch on the Internet and suppressing the protests against irregularities and corruption. Concerning it, a spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China resolutely opposed the U.S. interference in its internal affairs through human rights issues. The Islamic Republic News Agency of Iran said the U.S. operation of secret prisons, illegal wiretapping, and state terrorism, including military intervention in sovereign states and killing of civilians by drones, are serious issues which ought to be dealt with at the International Court of Justice, and added that the U.S. authorities must be put in the human rights dock. The spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Vietnam turned down the estimation of Vietnam by the U.S. Department of State, saying it lacked accuracy and did not reflect the objective reality of human rights in Vietnam. According to the Egyptian newspaper Egyptian Gazette, a spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Egypt in a press briefing said the attempt of the U.S. Department of State to describe the United States as the only defender of human rights in the world is unpardonable. He ridiculed that the announcement of the non-objective and ill-balanced human rights report of the U.S. Department of State is an expression of a double standard, and the United States had to mention its human rights defects before slandering other countries. In addition, broad international community, including Russia and Ecuador, strongly protested against and denounced the United States for unreasonably acting while hurting the dignity of other countries with the human rights issue. The U.S. still attempts to interfere in the internal affairs of other countries while professing itself to be human rights judge, furthermore its international image, and only deepens diplomatic isolation. It leads the United States into bottomless abyss of moral destruction. You've been listening to an account entitled U.S. Pretends to be Human Rights Judge Triggers Off Public Indignation. This is Voice of Korea. Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service to Southeast Asia between 5 and 6 hours UTC on 13,650 kHz and 15,105 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 6,185 kHz and 9,850 kHz. For Middle East and Northern Africa, between 16 and 17 hours UTC on 9,890 kHz and 11,645 kHz, and between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 9,875 kHz and 11,635 kHz. For Southern Africa, between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 7,210 kHz and 11,910 kHz. And for Central and South America, between 4 and 5 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz, 13,750 kHz, and 15,180 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 6,170 kHz and 9,435 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.